Good morning, you guys, or afternoon, I guess, for some of you. Yesterday, I gave you guys 3 problems to work on. We're going to go over it. So you should have put yesterday's date on the top of your paper. Make sure you guys are keeping your stuff nice and neat, so that way, when we're back in school, we can go over it. I can give you guys some credit for what you've done, things like that. All right, so we're adding fractions. We're practicing that. This is our practice. And I know I didn't tell you to put a title on the top, so go ahead, you guys can do that now. All right, the first one you had was 5/6 plus 1/4. So the first step you're supposed to do is stack them because you're going to find the equivalent fractions. So 5/6, 1/4. Okay, one of the ways that we've been practicing how to add and subtract, well, not subtract yet, but we'll get there. Add fractions with unlike denominators is just to take your 2 denominators and multiply them together. So 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, so now you're trying to find out the equivalent fractions. 5/6 is equal to how many 24ths? And the way that you do that is you multiply it because you're going from 6 to 24. It's getting larger. So 6 times what equals 24? It's 4. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 5 times 4 is 20. Same thing with the bottom one. 4 times what gives you 24? And it's 6. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top because this fraction has to be equivalent to 1 whole. So the denominator and numerator need to be the same. 1 times 6 is 6. Now you're going to add. So 20 plus 6 equals 26 24ths. Okay, now your fraction, the numerator, is larger than the denominator, so that's an improper fraction. So you need to change it to a mixed number. And the way that we change it to a mixed number is you do the division. So remember, you start at the top, 26 divided by 24. So 26 divided by 24. How many times can 24 go into 6? Or how many times can 24 go into 26 without going over? 1 time. 1 times 24 is 24. 26 minus 24 is 2. So your remainder is 2. All right, so now we're going to write it as a mixed number. Your quotient, the 1, is your whole number. Make sure it's taken out those 2 lines so you're not confusing them and thinking it's a different part of your numerator. Your remainder is your new numerator. Your denominator stays the same, so you have 24ths. Okay, the next step is to ask yourself, can my numerator go into my denominator? So can 24 be divided by 2? And the answer is yes. So 24 divided by 2 is what? 12. It's so weird not having you guys respond to me, but I'll just pretend you're here. And that would be 1. So it'd be 1 and 1/12. Circle your final answer so you know that that's the end. So you had to go from an improper fraction, do the division, change it to a mixed number, and then at the end you had to simplify. Now I'm going to do it in a different color because a lot of you guys are starting to understand how to do this way. You could have done the same thing. So 5/6 and 1/4. And some of you might have seen, well, wait a minute, I know 12 could be a common denominator for 6 and 4. So I put 12 there. And some of you I know are sitting there going, wait, what? How did she get 12? Well, finding the lowest common denominator, if I wrote out my multiples of 6, so 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. And we're going to stop there. Like usually just do the first 5 and then stop. If you have to add on at the end, then just add on at the end. Then the next one would be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Okay, so your 12 is a common multiple. So that could be your lowest common denominator. So 6, and you're going to do the same steps. You're going to find the equivalent fraction. So 5 6 is equal to how many 12ths? 1/4 is equal to how many 12ths? So 6 times what gives you 12? The answer is 2. 5 times 2, because remember you got to do the same thing to the top as you did to the bottom. 5 times 2 is 10. Then you have 4 times what equals 12? And that would be 3. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, 10 plus 3 is 13. Your denominator stays the same. Now, for this kind, or this strategy, I guess, you still have the improper fraction, so you're still going to have to do the division. And remember, you might know, well, you should know on top of your head, it's going to be 1 remainder. 1 remainder 1. Matt.
Stop.
But I want you to show it on your paper, so you got to prove it. So 12 can go into 13 one time. 1 times 12 is 12. 13 minus 12 is 1. So you would have 1 remainder 1. So it'd be 1 and 1, 12. Both strategies are correct. You could choose to do either way. Some of them, like this one, you might have seen it a lot faster that it would be 12. Some of them you might be like, oh, I can't remember what the multiple is, and you're writing them out and you're just confusing yourself. Then just go to our backup strategy, 6 times 4, and that gives you 24. So both of them get to the same answer, just a different way of doing it. This one, you kind of did the simplifying in the front end of it. This one, you did the simplifying at the end. So it's the same thing, 2 different strategies. So it's your choice, whatever one you want to do, and you can keep switching back and forth. Like if this one you've seen it quicker than the other ones, then that's fine. All right, so let's go to number 2. Now this one's a little bit different because you have 8s and 7s. So a lot of you might have just done multiplying 8 times 7. So you have 4 8s plus 3 7s. All right, so 8 times 7. Try to think in my head real quick if there's a one that's common besides doing 8 times 7. No, there isn't, I don't think. I don't know. I'm going to do it on the side because now I'm curious. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, maybe 48. None of those for 7s. So no, you would have to do the 8 times 7. So some of them just work out that you have to do the 8 times 7. So 8 times 7 is 56, because that would be your next one. So 56. So 8 times 7 equals 56. So what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 4 times 7 is 4 times 7. What's 4 times 7? Madeline, what's 4 times 7?
I don't know. You do it.
28. All right. Same thing.
You're
7
teaching.
times. I know. But I just need someone to respond to me. 7 times 8 is 56. 3 times 8 is 24. So 28 plus 24. And some of you might be like, oh, don't try to do it in your head. Go over to the side. You guys have a whole bunch of scrap paper. You have a whole notebook full of it. So 8 plus 4 is 12. 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So it would be 52, 56. Okay, so now you need to simplify. Usually when your two parts of your fraction, numerator and denominator, are large numbers, you're definitely going to simplify. So they're both even, so you can divide by 2, but it's going to take you forever to keep dividing by 2. So what is another one that we could divide by? Let me think. 52, 52 to be divided by 4. Yeah, that would be 13. So try 4. 13. And then 56 divided by 4 is 14. Okay, so and 13 can't be divided by anything besides itself and 1. So this is simplified. Okay, let's do the third one. Now, this one, you guys might see a little bit quicker what your common denominator is. You have 1/3 and 2/5. So already in your head, you're probably like, oh, well, that's going to be 15. All right, so find your equivalent fraction. 3 times what gives you 15? That's 5. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, next one. 5 times 3 is 15. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 2 times 3 is 6. So 5 plus 6 is 11 15ths. Okay, so 11 is a prime number. You can't divide it by evenly by anything besides itself and 1. And same, well, 15 has a couple other ones, but 11 can't be divided at all. So it's going to stop you right there. And you can't divide 15 by 11 evenly. So that's your answer. All right. So there is your work that you worked on yesterday. And in this assignment, I will have something for you to work on today. And I know you guys had a warm up too. We'll go over that as soon as I find my paper because I can't find where my paper is. I might have handed it all out to you guys. So once I get that, we might have to go over both of them tomorrow. So the one for today and the one for yesterday. Tomorrow. We'll go over it tomorrow. All right, you guys. I hope you guys are staying safe, listening to your parents, being good. And I will talk to you guys later.